Go. Okay. Hey, so welcome everybody. This is a panel of four people talking about careers in tech, specifically about breaking down stereotypes that we think of in terms of careers in tech in the first place. My name is Faisal Siddiqui, and we have a distinguished panel with us. Let's just start with the introductions, left to right. Jerry, you want to go?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jerry Overton. I'm a fellow at DXC. Let's see, I'm a programmer turned analyst turned data scientist.
All right, Leah, it's you.
Hi, Leah Rochelle with HR Learning and Talent Development at DXC. I hope to provide you with some tips on mentoring and development, and very happy to be a part of the conversation today.
All right, thanks. Simple, you are next.
Thanks. Myself, Simple Setia, a professional application delivery specialist in DXC.
Okay, and this is Faisal Siddiqui. I'm innovation chief technologist. I just stumbled over that. And open source practitioner, overall tech guy. I love all things tech. And the reason why I'm here is I kind of volunteered to help set the conversation here, but this is a general conversation about careers in tech with a special focus on diversity, hopefully. So let's start with a question we had in mind. As technologists and practitioners, there are probably no typical days. Can I just go around the panel and say, what does your typical day or your average day look like? Any things that you end up having to do that you hadn't thought of? So who wants to go first?
So I would like to go first.
Yeah.
Apart from leading the team present and mentoring my team members, I get involved into other organization level activities like recruitment drives, imparting trainings, extending help to other team members around the tools and technologies that we are using. And I'm also getting involved in coordinating activities which are at the business unit level for ideation and innovation sharing.
Okay. So how do you actually quantify that in a daily process, though, Simple? That sounds like a pretty broad set of things. Do you get to do those cool things every day?
That's actually out of interest. I would like to hear from people what they feel the ideation and innovation that they are introducing. And as part of campus recruitments, I believe I'm going back to the times when I first appeared for company interviews. So that actually pulls me and pushes me to these activities.
Okay, so the necessity is what drives the innovation in those activities. I understand. That's kind of the way it works for me as well. Jerry, Leah, what's your day look like?
Yeah, so I'll start. Let's see. Typical day for me. So I'm a data scientist, and as a data scientist, we follow the scientific method. Now, this is usually how the scientific method gets presented, where you construct a hypothesis, you run an experiment, you evaluate results, and then there's a nice little loop going back to the beginning. But when you actually practice data science, this is typically what it looks like. So this is what a typical day looks like for me. I spend time bouncing around any of these different areas, but I love it. So it's challenging enough to where it's fluid, but it's not chaotic.
Right.
It's structured enough to where it's orderly, but it's not rigid. So if I do it right, if I follow good practices of data science, I typically on a typical day, I find myself doing this, but it's like a state of flow where I'm kind of balanced between being challenged and having enough structure to where I know I can make it through. So this is what a typical day looks like for me.
Oh, wow. I love the analogy, Jerry. I mean, you're saying that your day actually looks like the reality of data science itself, where you have this, guided chaos that kind of drives you, and you probably choose what the highest value items are at any given time.
That's exactly right.
I had never thought about that. And so Leah, what about you?
Yes, well, being in learning and development, my passion is definitely around helping become and grow into the individuals that they want to be, and help them learn, and also help them to find the resources and the training that is needed to help them with that, and also helping the organizations train up their individuals and their employees into the skills that we need today.
Yeah, and so You're kind of taking all my thunder away, because that's kind of the direction I would take my typical day as well. There's lots of opportunity to interact with other people. There's lots of need to respond to chaos in an orderly manner, and then respond to the needs of what the day brings. Now, that sounds really really unfocused, but somehow I personally am able to prioritize the things that I personally like as well. That is that if from a tech perspective, I actually like investing time in technology and learning myself. I'll probably spend maybe a few hours a day really in engaging with the outside technology community and internal technology community. I try to code something, maybe not every day, but very often, because I know that if I don't, I'm going to get rusty. But that also means that I personally find myself in need of staying ahead of where I want all the members of my various teams to be as well. So at least I have to stay abreast of them.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, Faisal. So I want to follow up on something that you just said. So
yeah.
A lot of people, when they progress in their career, they find that they have trouble staying technical and hands-on.
Yeah.
You have carved out time for that. How does that work?
It's hard, but I guess if it's important, you do it. I just anecdotally, I just noticed that I looked on our public GitHub, and there was a new project for the Penske racing, and I saw a pull request from Dan Hushen, our CTO. So it goes from a cultural perspective in DXC, it goes all the way to the top. If Dan can do it, I'm sure we can. I know Simple does dozens of pull requests every day, so I've seen those. But one could argue that's part of Simple's job. But I would also argue that it's not necessarily. Simple could easily say that, yeah, hand it over to somebody else, and I'll just watch.
It's a great thing to learn from you, Faisal, and from Dan, that you have started contributing to the outside world as well. So this gives me another thing that I should take up.
Yeah, I want to get this across, that as a tech company, we want to behave in a way that tech companies are expected to behave, and that we find ourselves elaborate on those objectives. We have a choice. We could turn into a bureaucracy, or we could engage and embrace the technology. So, Leah, from your perspective, what do you see other people doing? What do you think their impediments are?
I would say it's definitely just finding the training and finding the resources that are needed to develop. Right? It's important to have a vision for your career and where you want your goals to be. So we're here to help with that and just to help others reach their goals.
Right, terrific. Who wants the closing thought on this talking point about the typical day in tech?
Well, let me see. Let me jump in. If you find that your typical day is different from someone else's typical day, don't feel too bad. Just as long as you have some kind of goal that you're reaching for and that you're moving toward, right? It really doesn't matter if your day looks like someone else's day. Just as long as you're moving along your path, I think you're doing a good job.
Terrific, and that kind of addresses the matter of the topic of this talk about stereotypes. You can stereotype a day, and you can stereotype the people who participate in those days. I want to bring up a picture that triggered this thought. Let's see if I can bring that up. You guys see this?
Yes, yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this is a picture of some of our senior technologists, and this got posted to our internal social share site. And somebody quite rightly asked, well, where are the women? Now, we're a pretty diverse bunch. Just take a look at this. And the fact is that we may not be doing all the things that we could do to encourage diversity, or alternatively to highlight the diversity that we do have. That's one of the reasons we're having this talk. If you take a look at us, what are we doing to highlight our diversity, and do we accurately represent DXC's reality? So let's just confront that issue.
Well, okay, so I'll start. I think that as a company, we're a very diverse group, and we have a culture of being open. So this discussion is the perfect example, right? I mean, we're encouraged to have these open exchanges, both externally and internally. But one of the areas where I see that we're having problems is in our Tech Honors program. So this is a fantastic program for those of you outside of DXC who may not know what this is. This is a program to honor our highest technical achievers. It's an excellent program and it's direction setting for the company. But one of the things I've noticed is that women are underrepresented there. We've been having an open discussion as to why, and quite honestly, I don't really know why. One of the theories that's been brought out is maybe it's because of a confirmation bias or an expectation bias. I don't know. It sounds like as good a place as any to start the discussion. I was wondering if anybody else on the panel had an opinion.
So, Jerry, I would like to talk about a few things. Maybe we lacked on the communication for the honors program because it first came from Faisal to me. And apart from this later came as the opportunity that was floated. And moreover, I feel women specifically would only apply until and would not apply until and unless they are sure that they actually qualify for it. So that was also one of my concern that I brought up with Faisal. Faisal is my mentor. And Faisal indicated that there is a self-assessment exercise that you should go through. And he didn't say that he feels that I am capable of or I have the ability to apply for it. But he simply said, go to that self-assessment exercise. Even if you don't go through it, but at least you would know what next you would like to do in your career. So if you feel that you are a technologist and if you feel that you are like near about that, and if you go through that self-assessment exercise, that would be beneficial. So that self-assessment exercise did help me, Jerry, to identify that yes, I am capable of this honor and I should be able to apply for it.
So let me ask you a quick follow-up question. Did you feel personally that you needed to be overqualified for it before you applied?
Right. It somehow came to my mind that I have to be holding some masters on high end technologies that are running right now on market. But it wasn't that because it actually was a combination of lots of things, skills, communications, organization level activities, and challenges that I have faced, and all the other stuff. So it was a combination of multiple things, and I think I was able to contribute in some ways to all of these areas.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you're saying it wasn't just one factor. It wasn't just the expectation. It was, social factors. There was a support system. There was a lot of things that contributed to whether or not you were likely to apply.
Right.
Okay.
I want to pull on that thread a little bit more. The point that Simple brings up that that the likelihood of women applying for a job or an honor like that in the Tech Honors program, it is fundamentally different. That and in fact, I think Simple, you're referring to a study or a survey from Hewlett Packard about the likelihood of women applying based on the likelihood of their thought about whether they will succeed or not. So
Right.
let's pull on that thread a bit more. What are your incentives to apply for a new thing?
First thing I would say, Faisal, it's actually the recognition, people knowing about you, people knowing about the contributions that you have made to the industry. This is actually a big factor for me for any application that I would like to apply for. So that's something that I would look forward to. That's one of the biggest incentives. Recognition is actually the best, I should say, the most important thing for me.
Leah, do you have come across this kind of question as well?
Well, and Simple brings up a really good point that they don't apply for a job or apply for an award or what have you unless they know for that. Not sure why that is. Maybe again, it's how we are nurtured or how we grow up. But Sometimes we just really need to put ourselves out there and get out of our comfort zone, get out of ourselves, right? And just put ourselves out there, because otherwise we will never know what if. And Simple, I just admire you for going ahead and applying for that award. So good for you.
Thank you.
Well, we're taking questions from all different sources. Heijin reports a question from Twitter about how did the panel get their career started in tech? Who wants to take that one?
Okay, so I would say, Faisal, that for me, DXC was a life-changing event. The day I stepped in DXC, I got into a development project which involved some of the latest technology stack which was prevalent in the market. I never thought that I would get a chance to work on this kind of technology stack. And on top of that, we had a team of new people joining in, and most of them were new. So it was a learning exercise for all of us. So, and we got to learn a lot from the development project because we were part of all of the phases of the development life cycle, which gave us a good exposure on how things would look like when they are in the requirement stage, and then how they went into design and the challenges that we faced across the entire project. That was a very good learning experience, I would say. And same went to for me for the other projects as well. The other one that we worked on is like a digital insurance as a service solution that DXC is working on. So that's equally challenging, and it has ample number of opportunities to learn and grow into those technologies. So I would say I've been lucky.
I suspect there's an element more than risk and than luck to it, because the fact is that everybody on your team got the same opportunity. So there's an element of grasping at that opportunity and taking it somewhere to the position where you happen to be today.
So I'll tell about two things here, Faisal. So one thing that I would like to share with everyone, I'm not fearing any of the challenges. I just assume that either I will succeed or I will fail. I am not fearing any of the failures. For any challenge that would come across my life or my technical career, I would accept it and would like to work through it to identify on how I can resolve it. Because for me, my perception says that anything and everything is solvable. It is going to take some time for you to learn over, and you will eventually be able to solve it. The other key thing that I would like to share here is that you cannot uh, uh, fight alone. So there's a team that actually is there with you. So you have to keep that kind of learning process on for your team and keep them motivated such that we all are able to collectively work towards that item or that particular challenge. So I would like to bring up those few things that you cannot win a war alone. You have to have a team which should be able to support you, and you should be able to support them.
I love that message. I mean, I love the idea that where we are today is a result of a collection of failures, because that's the way I describe where I am. Jerry, Leah, what about you? You want to talk about failures you'd be willing to discuss with us?
Yeah. So, okay, the original question was all around, how did you get to the position that you're in? And I love that question because it allows me to give, some of the things that I've been able to learn about building a career. So any of the success that I've been able to have is kind of centered around, I try to look at a career as an investment. And because it's an investment, you got to put in capital and you got to take some risks. So, tying to your failure thing. And the way that I've kind of handled it is I try to keep in mind three things. I try to make sure that I don't wait for something to be cool before I invest in it. So if you wait for there to be an opening for a chief blockchain officer, it's probably too late. Get into blockchain now. There you go. Second is don't wait for permission, right? You don't need permission from a university or from a certification organization or even from your peers to have a particular skill. Go out, get the skill, declare it. And then the second thing is, and this is the really important part, and this is where I'd like to use to answer the question, is I believe in remodeling when you can, remodel over moving. So what I mean by that is if you have a job and you aspire to be a data scientist, for example, one of the broadest options open to you is to take the job that you have and start molding it into a data scientist position. Start taking on additional responsibilities. Sit down with your boss at annual review times and set that expectation that, I'm going to start incorporating data and data analytics and experimentation into the job. Your boss is going to love you for that, adding value to the team. You get to migrate your job over. You get to remodel rather than move. And quite frankly, that's how I've made some of the most significant advancements in my career.
That really resonates. Leah, did we cut you off?
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to share my story as well, because it's a very unusual one, I believe. And I'm not in actually tech. I work for a tech company and got with technology training. But I started out actually as an executive assistant, and life happened and babies happened, and was planning on going part-time or even just looking for something else. And I had a wonderful vice president of HR who stepped in and asked if I wanted to move into the HR area.
Yeah.
And I said yes, not knowing a thing about it, but I took the leap and did it. And I have to admit that was the best move I could have ever made in my career. And since then, I mean, I have just found out what certifications, what I need to learn, and just moved into various aspects of HR and have loved it ever since. So I would just recommend getting out of your comfort zone, challenging yourself, learning what you need to learn, and enjoying the journey.
That's fascinating. And I know these are challenges. Simple, you have a new baby. So tell us about her and how you manage to work around and lead the teams that you do.
It's a difficult job. I won't say it's an easy thing. Your baby is cranky when you reach up to her. But what motivates me is the fact that I would like to tell my baby that I have been pursuing a career which is my own choice, which is something that I would have liked to do, and also brought up you as well. So me and my husband together, we are working on this, and he's been a great support person. So I wouldn't say that it's a single kind of duty that I am picking up. He is equally involved in that. And my family, my in-laws, all are very supportive of this fact. And they are worried when I feel that I may not be able to carry both of these things. So they are worried about the fact that I may want to leave my career at some point in time. So they keep pushing me and they say, okay, it's going to be okay, and you can do it. So that kind of push and that kind of motivation and that kind of help is helping me.
Yeah, I can't say that I've had those kinds of problems, but my kids are grown up. But the fact is that we went through some of those same things. I know Jerry and I talk about our kids. But the fact is that I think societally we may somehow excuse absence of a father more than a mother due to career demands, and I think that is changing. Anecdotally, when my kids were small, my wife started a brand new business, and she was, I think the younger one was 6 months old. And so she would take the two kids all over South Carolina, driving around rural areas, building the new business. And there were times when I'd stay home and when she had a business meeting to help out. I think this is a reasonable kind of expectation. And the cool thing about tech jobs is that we often have the flexibility to work in less regular, strict environments than possible. I think that's one of the promises of a situation like DXC.
Right.
Hajan reminded us that we have, 4 minutes ago, she told us we had 10 minutes left. But I really wanted to cover the matter of advice. I think we've kind of been filling in details for advice for aspiring technologists, people that may hopefully look up to us and ask, look for leadership. So who wants to take that?
There's one thing that we should keep on doing as whatever work we are doing on our project. So we need to continue developing ourselves on newer technologies. Like you mentioned, Faisal, whatever time you have, you are trying to get on to the GitHub repositories to find out what is new coming up. So that's kind of activity that we need to keep on going. We will have to put some extra effort onto that, reskilling and upskilling yourself onto those new technologies is essential for us to keep moving with the new technology market trends. So that is something that I would advise my fellows and my team members to continue doing that, such that they are able to pursue any opportunities when they come across.
And I would just like to recommend mentoring. You don't really need an official program for mentoring. Really, I would just encourage you to seek out individuals who are doing the kind of work that you would like to do, or maybe hold the positions that you aspire to one day, and just strike up a conversation or take them out to lunch if you're co-located. And then ask them to share their career journey with you. You would be amazed how many people would love to share their experiences and their stories. So, just ask them, what training have you taken? What certifications? What development techniques? And also, if you know of an individual but you haven't met them yet, ask your manager to introduce you. So your manager should be an advocate for your career development. But I just encourage you to start the conversation, because you really just don't know where that could lead you.
I would like to. Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to what Leah just mentioned about need of good mentors. And I just would like to share credit. I would like just to credit Faisal here. I would credit him for a big portion of success that I currently hold in DXC, because he is. I looked up to him for most of the things that he is doing, and on how I should be addressing the problems that I'm facing. So Faisal Siddiqui is also part of this tech chat session, and I would say that he is role model for many of us.
Thank you, Simple. And actually realized that I have a story about Jerry. Years ago, I was applying for the Distinguished Engineer program, and I called Jerry and said, "Hey, can you read my application?" And we set up a time, and I was out for a meeting. I showed up 5 minutes late, and Jerry waited for me. So it's these kinds of things. And Jerry didn't say, "Hey, you were 5 minutes late, so I'm going to bail." So these are the things that we contribute and we benefit from individually. So thanks, Jerry.
Hey, no problem at all. And I want to underscore what everyone has been saying about a mentor. So I believe that is like that is the number one thing that I found to be useful in advancing in my career. And one of the things that you should recognize about the people that you're asking to be your mentor, as you start to rack up accomplishments in your career, you start to find out that the most important thing that you can do is foster a meaningful connection with a person. So the mentors, they want to mentor, right? Just make it easy for them. Don't be afraid to reach out. In fact, I think Hajan has my LinkedIn information. I asked her before this meeting, look, post it out there, share it, because there are a lot of people who reach out to me directly via LinkedIn. Your mentor wants to be contacted. Just make it easy for them. Respect that they probably are very busy. Make it easy for them to, have a quick chat with you, 15 minutes. Hey, here's a link to join me in Google Hangouts. But you'll be surprised at the number of people who, are perfectly willing to lay out and give you all kinds of time and to mentor you. Because again, there's just no greater reward than to be able to connect with another person.
I certainly am personally, and you're right, Jerry. I think we grow as individuals when we can learn what other people need, and if we can help them. That's really been valuable to me. I get so many growth opportunities just from talking to people. We have 1 minute left. Does anybody have any idea or anything to pitch before we close? Go ahead, Jerry.
Sorry,
I just want to encourage everybody, when you're talking about getting your skills, go out, just do it. We have a program called the AI Open Badge Academy. If anybody's interested in data science or applied artificial intelligence, this is an embodiment of that type of thing. So I think Hajan's going to share a link to the Open Badge Academy. So just get out there and just start working.
Open Badges, AI. Leah, it's you. What do you have to pitch? Anything you'd like to communicate?
I just encourage you to invest in yourself in whatever way that means. If it's training, if it's mentoring, just invest in yourself, because it will pay off in the end.
Terrific. Simple, 10 seconds. What do you have to encourage and pitch on?
I just would like to say people that learn some and apply some. Don't try to learn it in one go. Only learning is not going to help. So learn and use it in the development. That's the way to go ahead.
I love it. And from me, I'm going to take this opportunity to promote one of my favorite DXC initiatives, which is the open source program. Find us on github.com/DXC technology. Find us with inner source, the internal GitHub if you're a DXC employee. And as Jerry said, if anybody wants attention from me inside or outside, we're easy to find. And we benefit tremendously just from those interactions. So I think this has been great. We've been talking about breaking down the stereotypes in tech, and let the conversation continue internally and externally on the media that we have. Thanks for everybody's time, and we will be in touch.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.